Texas Governor Rick Perry again calling on President Obama to send in the National Guard to deal with the thousands of illegal immigrants pouring over the border. Meantime, the White House is asking Congress for $3.7 billion in emergency funds to address the crisis. That request meeting stiff resistance from Republicans who want to focus on the underlying problems that's brought us to this point. Michael Warren is a staff writer for the Weekly Standard. Michael, good to see you.
Hey, Arthel.
All right, let's start here. So on top of everything else I laid out, some are criticize the president for missing a missed opportunity to go to the border. He was in Texas last week, while others say he dodged criticism of yet another photo op by not going. Has the president lost control of this current border crisis?
I think that whole debate about whether or not he should go to the border is a perfect example of the kind of political bind the president's in on this. First of all, I sort of think it wouldn't have really done anything had he gone to the border. So it was a little bit of a red herring. But if you watch that debate, you had people on his left saying, go down to the border. You have to see this as a crisis. And in a way, they were hoping that he might put his arms around these kids and say, welcome to America. You're new Americans. But on those right, people wanted him to go down there for a completely different reason, to sort of see how unsustainable this big flow of people is and how the humanitarian crisis is putting a strain on not only the kids, but also our resources. So he was in a bit of a bind. He really couldn't do anything that would have made people happy, no matter what he had gone down there to do. I think that's a nice microcosm for the problems that this president has, and pretty much all politicians have on the issue of immigration.
Yeah, that's what I mean by losing control over the, kind of the optics and what he should do.
Right.
I mean, obviously he's the president. I guess he's going to come up with something. Let's hope. And he definitely did say, listen, I did not go down to the border, but I'm very well of what's happening there. I get briefed, daily, and
right.
So he says he's aware of that, of course, as you would expect. Let's move on. And let's address this, Michael, the issue of the government taking many of these illegal immigrants from Texas and then shipping them to other communities that are not expecting or prepared for them. But, of course, in the government doing this sort of back-ending the funds to those cities. I just heard the report from Dominique DiNatale specifically talking about Illinois and Nebraska saying, wait a minute, we weren't prepared for this. What's your take on this?
I mean, this is another example of the president sort of losing control. It's one thing if this is affecting the 4 border states, and you always hear about wherever there's an immigration crisis that California, Arizona, New Mexico, Texas are in trouble. But once it starts exporting itself, or rather the government starts exporting this problem to other states, like you mentioned, Nebraska and Illinois, and I've even read places like as far away as Massachusetts having these problems, then I think you really reach a political tipping point on this, where the debate sort of moves on, beyond these sort of esoteric, are we a nation of immigrants? What do we do with these kids? And really gets to, well, wait a second, are we going to be able to actually sustain all of this movement across the border? And how do we stem the tide, to use the phrase the administration likes to use?
So, the president laid out an itemized, let's call it invoice, if you will, for $3.73 billion that he's requesting. The Republicans are saying this is not specific enough, and they don't support what amounts to what they're calling a Band-Aid. So in this tug of war between policy and politics, which wins, and ultimately what's the short-term loss? And I need you to be a little bit brief on this one for me, unfortunately.
Sure.
Go ahead, Michael.
Let's also remember that a lot of Democrats are a little skeptical of this. This has completely changed over the last week. I think most people thought maybe he'd be able to get it through, but it's actually opened itself up for a lot of debate about what is this money actually going to? Is it going to help, get some judges down there to process these kids, or is it actually going to start deporting them? And do we really need $3.7 billion? And I don't think the administration had good answers to those questions, and that's only compounded their political problem at getting this passed.
It's complicated, to say the least.
Yeah.
All right. All right, Michael Warren, thank you so much.
Thanks, Arthel.
See you soon.